Are you ready? Oh, I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Let's do this.
Let's do this thing, man.
The League Podcast.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how's it going? You got J&D here with the League Podcast. Today we'll be covering all of our Week 1 matchups, including Monday Night Football, doubleheader, which is pretty interesting. Rams second game, so we got some golfing to do on Monday.
That's right.
And
then football
by then.
That's right.
And so, yeah, pretty interesting. Got a lot of information for you guys. We're going to break down each game pretty relatively quickly, unless there's some games that we know you guys have questions on, or maybe we have questions on that we're going to kind of ask each other about. But before anything, go check out our website once again, www.theleaguefantasyfootball.wordpress.com. And on there, all of our social media will be on there, which you'll be able to easily access. Just click it. It'll shoot you straight there. The League Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and The League Pod on Twitter. So once again, go to our website, check it out. All those will be on there. Our rankings will be on there. Our podcasts will be on there. All good information will be on there. But
damn right.
So real quick, we're just gonna touch base, I think, on LeVeon Bell. Still hasn't shown up.
Yep.
So it's a little nerve wracking. You're starting to shoot me some trades for him.
Well, you figure at this point, luckily I was smart enough and drafted James Conner, like we touched base on in our last pod. If you didn't draft James Conner, you're looking pretty. You're hurting right now. Obviously, you drafted LeVeon Bell with your within the top three picks of the draft. So if you don't have James Conner, you're going to try and trade for him, and somebody's going to try and rip you off for James Conner at the end of the day.
Especially if he has a good week 1.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. He's gonna have a lot of it's rain. It's gonna be pretty rainy there supposedly, so they're gonna hand the ball off. They're gonna give the ball to James Conner. He's gonna have a good week, I think, and his value will just only rise, obviously, behind one of the best offensive lines in the league, like I said. So LeVeon Bell is being, I think, extremely smart. The man's trying to get paid. He's at a point in his career where they're just gonna keep running him into the ground until he's done and diminished. So why not hold out? Be safe, be good with your body. I just hope that, and I know he is, he's a professional athlete, and I'm hoping that he is staying in that tip-top shape like he's playing all season, even though he's not. I hope he's, like we touched base on, I hope he's not in the studio instead on the field working.
Yeah.
But anywho, I think he's doing the smart thing, and for me, it is smart to keep him on my team because of his longevity. He's going to be healthy this year. Hopefully he gets signed to another team with a good offensive line by the end of this year, and he's locked in for a long time and can just focus on playing and balling out and doing what Lev Bell does. But I'm at that spot right now where I have James Conner as my RB2. Luckily I drafted Derrick Henry, but I'm trying to package Lev Bell and James Conner for a little something. Odell's my boy, Devontae Adams my boy, Dylan stacked up some players that I love, obviously.
In hopes to, maybe possibly pull something off with him for Todd Gurley, but he's not budging, obviously.
Okay,
now with,
he's impossible to talk to. We are both, I think, impossible to talk to. We'll never agree on a trade.
All right, whatever, Jake.
Anyways,
let's
get into these games.
I'm done talking trades with you. Just keep disrespecting me. So,
Bills, I hope we can work something out.
Man, I don't know. I just don't know if it's going to happen. It never does, and I don't think it will.
Lev Bell, he's yours. Possibly.
Yeah. So is Emmanuel Sanders for Lev Bell.
You see what I mean, guys? This is what I'm dealing with.
Bills at Ravens. This is an interesting game because this year Peterman was named the starter. He started one game last year and threw
6 interceptions.
6 interceptions. So, like we talked about, the Ravens defense, they are just drooling right now. If you have Ravens defense, you have to start them. What about the rest of the Bills team, Jake? Do you think anyone's startable on that offense?
I think Kelvin Benjamin's always worth a start. I've always been a big fan of Kelvin Benjamin. He is the main receiver in that offense who just also released Corey Coleman, who they just traded for as well. Their next best receiver is Zay Jones and Andre Holmes. So, Jeremy Curley's in that offense too, and he's always kind of sneakily decent in most offenses, but I think the only receiver you're starting this week is Kelvin Benjamin, obviously. And I think unfortunately Peterman's in for a really, really rude week 1. Obviously, again, Baltimore's defense is nasty, even without Jimmy Smith being suspended. So this offense does scare me. I think LaShawn McCoy also is going to have a rough year just simply because that offensive line looks so bad, in my opinion. So they're relying on LaShawn McCoy and Nathan Peterman, who showed us nothing really of anything last year. I mean, he looked, I guess, decent in preseason.
Yeah, he looked all right in preseason, but it's I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
So, in my eyes, I think Baltimore Ravens defense not only wins this game, I think gives the Ravens offense a great opportunity to use its players, get it to Michael Crabtree and John Brown, and
so you're starting
feed Alex Smith.
Ryan Flacco.
Joe Flacco all day.
Joe Flacco.
I think there's a lot of players above Joe Flacco. I don't know if anyone's in the situation where they have to start Joe Flacco this week, I think Joe Flacco's a start when you see injuries across the board.
Carson Wentz on your bench.
That's a good question. Who I'm liking out there really this week, I think, is Marcus Mariota, who I've been seeing on a lot of, waiver wires. So they're playing the Dolphins this week. It is raining, but I just like the matchup. The Dolphins defense, to me, doesn't show anything scary. So I'm liking Marcus. He's on a lot of waiver wires, too. So I think there's some other guys out there that I would play over Joe Flacco, but I think Ravens defense kills it, and they start running the ball a lot. I think Alex Collins is a great start this week, and he's going to flourish.
Yeah,
and prove your point on why, you do like him so much.
Yeah. So,
but that's kind of where I'm at.
Cool. So, who wins? Bills, Ravens.
I'm going Ravens, like I said. Defense wins this. I'm excited about seeing some of the Bills rookies, like Tremaine Edmonds, who was drafted to their team, I believe, in the first round last year.
Second first round pick.
Josh Allen. And I'm hoping Nathan Peterman has a horrible game and they put Josh Allen in just because I'm a big fan of Josh Allen's arm talent and the way he can move outside of the pocket. So I think Josh Allen definitely wins the starting job by the end of the year. But either way, I think either quarterback's going to have a tough time this year, just simply due to their offensive line. So
and also to quote the weather, it's going to be says 78% chance of rain at this moment in Baltimore. So it might be a rainy game too. So Baltimore's defense once again will stack on those points.
Definitely. And hey, that might be. Hopefully, LaShawn McCoy does have a decent game because they're just handing it. So LaShawn McCoy might
he's going to get volume, and that's what you want.
He's going to get volume, so he's going to be a start. So why don't we get into the Steelers and Browns?
Yes.
They're playing in Cleveland. Steelers are playing without a LeVeon Bell. What do you see the outcome being of this game? Give me some players that you think on the Browns side are worth starting this week.
Well, I'm starting Carlos Hyde. I think Carlos Hyde will get a decent amount of volume in this game. Steelers last year were pretty solid against the run in the beginning of the year, but once Ryan Shazier went down, it kind of changed a lot there. So this offseason, they definitely did they kind of did stack up at linebacker to kind of try to fill the void of Ryan Shazier, but I don't think anyone's going to be able to do that. Browns' offensive line is pretty solid. Obviously, they lost Joe Thomas, but they have an undrafted rookie that has really impressed throughout preseason. But I'll go with Carlos Hyde. I'll also go with Jarvis Landry because he's going to get tons of targets, I think. Josh Gordon is one of those guys that if you play him, you're either going to get 2 points or you're going to get 20. So I don't know, man. Like I kind of want to get I don't think he'll be out there for that first series for the punishment, but I think
bad boy.
That second drive, they're going to feed him the ball. I think he's getting on the field, and Tyrod's going to feed him the ball.
Yep. I definitely think Josh Gordon's a start. I definitely think so. They want to win this game. They're going to put their best players on the field to give them the best opportunity to win.
Todd Haley is the offense coordinator for the Browns, came over from the Steelers, so he wants this game. Definitely. He wants to win, and they are at home. Tyrod Taylor is a really solid quarterback. If you need a quarterback to start, he is definitely someone I would start against the Steelers. I think the Steelers, they're an amazing team, but I don't know if this whole Le'Veon Bell deal is going to kind of jack up how they're thinking and how their team's going to play. Because right now it seems like the locker room is totally against Le'Veon Bell. So It makes you think how these other players are thinking like, okay, well, these guys that are talking, how are they going to feel about me when I'm trying to get a contract, and these guys already got paid, so they have nothing to worry about. Granted, Le'Veon Bell is trying to make lots and lots of money, which he deserves. But in Cleveland, starting Tyrod, I'll start him.
I was just going to say, and that's another guy that, over Joe Flacco, Tyrod's on the waiver wire in a lot of leagues right now. He threw the second least amount of interceptions behind only Ryan Fitzpatrick, who didn't even play the whole year, obviously. Yeah. So we're talking about a Tyrod Taylor who is so accurate. He doesn't turn the ball over.
Not turn the ball over at all.
That's a safe start with weapons now. Tyrod Taylor hasn't had weapons like this before. Jarvis, Josh Gordon, David Njoku, 3 solid running backs in the backfield. I mean, the Browns look really good, dude.
They do.
They look good.
With the Steelers, it's pretty straightforward. You're starting. I think I would start Big Ben, even though he's not the greatest on the road.
Even in 70% chance of raining as well, it's bad weather.
He's got Antonio Brown, who is the best receiver in the league. Juju Smith, who's coming up. He played a great year last year, and I think that he's just going to continue to keep rolling. And with James Conner, you touch base that he's a running back too for sure. He might even be a running back 1 this week. So
definitely,
there's definitely
and with the rain, I do see the volume for James Conner being kind of high. Like they're gonna want to see what they have in him, and they're gonna rely on him. I think similar to what they would rely on a LeVeon Bell to do.
Yeah. So I don't know. It could come out to being a closer game than a lot of people are expecting. A lot of people are starting to pick the Browns to win, but Steelers are a really good team. So if they can play together and still have that chemistry or that family mentality, even with all this LeVeon Bell drama, I think they will end up winning. But if the game goes and you can tell that something's just up with the team, it's probably because of that. And I think the Browns will end up taking it with just being at home. I think that right there in itself, and that Browns defense has definitely been upgraded. That Browns offense has definitely been upgraded. So I definitely think that the Browns will surprise a lot of teams this year. But
I do too, and I disagree. I think the Browns win this at home.
Okay.
I think due to the Brown and actually, I gotta check on Denzel Ward's status. Do we know if he's playing this week or not?
I'm not sure.
So he seemed like a pretty bad injury on Hard Knocks at least. But I just think their defense, regardless of Denzel Ward's playing or not, having Myles Garrett just is going to get in that backfield so quick and cause hell for James Conner and Big Ben.
The Steelers have one of the best offensive lines in the league. So
I'm definitely discounting them on that.
He will definitely cause havoc, but Big Ben has the experience to know how to work with guys like this, so he'll still make plays. Antonio Brown gets open so fast that
they're just going to dump it off, whatever they need to do. I mean, I just think that the Browns are coming in to this game with so much hunger and passion. I'm not
saying that the Steelers are going to win. The Browns could definitely win, but I think the Steelers just have more experience, and they've been together for a while. As the Browns, there's a ton of new talent on this team they're putting together that it might take them a few weeks to really mend well together. So we'll see, though.
Definitely. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting game, and it might be an ugly game depending on if it's raining or not.
It's that bad, but
we just watched the Eagles and Falcons get delayed and thinking that game was gonna be a monsoon, and there wasn't a drip of rain the entire game.
Frustrating.
So that you never know with the weather,
but it's all right. Next game, Bengals at Colts.
Yep.
It's in a dome, so we don't have to worry about weather in this game. I think the only thing we got to worry about is Andrew Luck's shoulder. So what kind of luck do you think we're getting? Do you think we're getting the luck of the past or a luck of a future?
Well, due to a dream I had last night, I had a really weird dream, Dylan. I had a dream that Andrew Luck got arrested, of all things, and he was out the first 3 weeks of the season. So, due to my dream, I'm predicting that he's going to have a rough first 3 weeks of his season, but then going to flourish the rest of the season. I think he's going to need a couple weeks to get back into it. Remember, he hasn't played in almost 500 football games. This man's been out a long time. He's going to be what some offensive coordinator just came out and said he's going to be Charlie Checkdown because he's going to be scared to get hit. He's just going to want to dump it off. And I think he might be that way to begin the season. But I do think he does have enough weapons. I love T.Y. Hilton. They scored Eric Ebron, who is actually looking really good. And I think he could, what's his name? Andrew Luck can rely on top of Jack Doyle. And I'm interested to see what that running back core's got to bring with a young Naeem Hines. Marlon Mack we'll see, I guess. And who's their other guy that you're high on? Jordan Wilkins. So
who should start this week?
Going to start. And, I'm going to be interested to see not only that, they got the best, one in my opinion, the best offensive lineman in the draft this year. So that's going to really help out.
So are you starting Andrew Luck or no?
Yeah, I will start Andrew Luck.
So
but like I said, I'm saying that because I have Andrew Luck on one of my leagues, and I'm starting him because I didn't draft another quarterback. So I'm in a position where I'm starting Andrew Luck. But I don't think he's going to have a great week this week playing against the Bengals. The Bengals are a tough defense.
Who are you starting? Andy Dalton or Andrew Luck?
I'm starting Andy Dalton over Andrew Luck this week, 110%.
Wow. What about T.Y. Hilton or A.J. Green?
A.J. Green, 100%.
Okay, so I'm guessing you're thinking Bengals are going to come out on top.
I do think so, but like to your point with the Cleveland Browns, I think the Colts are really going to shock a lot of people this year.
They're at home, so they have that little bit of an edge.
I think they're going to, and Malik Hooker's back and looking really healthy and nice, and that's one of my favorite defensive players coming out of the last year's draft. And I really think that whole team is going to really come around this year and look good. But just due to my dream, I'm having a premonition that the first 3 weeks might be rough for them and Andrew Luck, but I do like them long term. I do like T.Y. Hilton. I do like Andrew Luck, so we'll see.
Last question about the Colts. Are you starting Jordan Wilkins this week? As you're always looking for that running back one that's going to get most of the carries. Like Mike, for instance, in one of our leagues has LeVeon Bell, but he said he has confidence in Jordan Wilkins this week to start him because he knows he's going to get the volume.
That would be the position that I would start Wilkins in. If I have with LeVeon Bell and I'm screwed otherwise, and if you didn't draft another running back, you're looking on the waiver wire for that RB1, or not even that waiver wire. People are drafting Wilkins, So
who are you starting? Alfred Morris or Jordan Wilkins?
Ooh. Let's see. Who does Alfred Morris play this week? The Vikings? I'm going Wilkins all day.
Okay.
You're talking about a Vikings defense who's looking scary this year.
They are.
But one thing I want to ask you, Dill, is on that Bengals offense, who we didn't touch base on really, is someone that's being drafted as their RB2 is Joe Mixon. So I'm really curious to know what you think. I mean, I think he's going to have a good week this week, but what do you think about Joe Mixon, and what do you think about him long term? Is he a good pick, or is he someone that's going to show, just like last year, is he not necessarily the best guy?
So I've wanted to give love to Joe Mixon, and I was hoping this year would be his year. But even in preseason, he did not look that great. Gio Bernard looked better in my opinion, as he always does. I think Gio Bernard's a beast, but he just can't stay healthy because he's a little guy. But Joe Mixon, I don't know. I'm definitely worried about Joe Mixon. I didn't draft him in any of my leagues. If Joe Mixon has a bad week this week, I wouldn't be surprised. If he has a bad year this year, I would not be surprised. But once again, he's young. He's got tons of talent. So if he could put it together, he could definitely be a good running back. But I am not trusting him until he proves otherwise. It depends on who I have on my team, but I'm ranking Joe Mixon and more down as an RB2, RB3.
Yeah, and he's being drafted as an RB2, and I'm really intrigued by him this year because to me he looked slow. He looked slower than he did in college last year.
And he's trying to pull the Le'Veon Bell,
no, definitely.
I'm gonna juke around and wait for a hole.
And it's not necessarily. I don't know. I guess
doesn't have that burst that Le'Veon Bell does.
Yeah, but this year coming in, I think it's 10 to 15 pounds lighter. Okay. He's really looking to have that burst and get that back to remind me of his Oklahoma college days when he had that burst. So last year, to me, he looked slow. I think that the pounds he tried to get a little buffer for the NFL, and it worked against him. He didn't have that explosiveness. So I think coming in this year, I'm gonna give him that benefit of the doubt again because I do know his upside is like we all do and are hoping for. But I am someone that has him on my roster and I'm hoping that being a little lighter he's gonna be more agile and he's gonna be with Jeremy Hill gone. I know Gio is still there, but he's gonna be the main focal point of that run game for the most part. So
are you going Joe Mixon or are you going Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry is going to score this week, I think, more than Joe Mixon. So this week, I'm definitely going Derrick Henry over Joe Mixon. They're also playing Dolphins defense, who, like I said before, isn't really anything to scare me by any means. It's going to be possibly raining. There's 15% chance of rain, so possibly you always never know with Miami, right? But I think they're going to get up, in my opinion, the Titans are. So they're going to start pounding the rock with Derrick Henry in that game. And that transitions into this next game, Dill. Titans versus Dolphins in Miami. So I'm going Derrick Henry over those two scenarios that you talked to me about. But I have a question for you. Derrick Henry or Deion Lewis?
Deion Lewis.
I knew you were going to say that.
I'm going Deion Lewis all day long. Deion Lewis, like you said, Derrick Henry's going to score touchdowns. I just think it's going to be a 1-2 punch. I think that you're going to be able to start both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Derrick Henry is more of a, he's going to get the 15 touches, 15 carries or whatever, like a J.J. did in Thursday Night Football. So I think that they definitely square up, and then you have Deion Lewis, who's going to play the role of a Darren Sproles / Corey Clement. But I think he'll be more involved. I think that I think they're going to be more of a running team than the Eagles were in that game. They threw the ball a ton. Obviously, it was a really close game. This game, I think that it's going to be more. I don't know what to expect from the Dolphins, but I think the Titans are looking better on paper, so I think that they might get ahead pretty quickly, so they might run the ball a lot more too,
Which Derrick Henry's city right there.
Exactly.
So I got another one for you. You're drafting Kenyon Drake in a lot of leagues. So Two guys that are both great pass catchers in Dion Lewis and Kenyon Drake. Who this week do you see as a better option to start and why?
I'm going Kenyon Drake because, like I said, I think the Titans do get up on the Dolphins and they will have to throw the ball. So I think it'll be the Kenyon Drake show in Miami. When Jay Ajayi was in Miami, he was the guy. He was their 3-down bell cow that ended up being a top 10 pick in a lot of fantasy football drafts. So I think Kenyon Drake's going to surprise a lot of people this year.
Behind a solid offensive line who gets a lot of not credit where it's due.
And Ryan Tannehill's never been, amazing, but he's always been a serviceable quarterback.
Absolutely.
And he's always been able to make plays. And, a lot of people discount this receiving core for the Dolphins, but Kenny Stills every year is quietly good. He's quietly a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3.
Very reliable.
That you can play on a weekly basis. He makes big plays. He averages, 15 plus yards a catch. Devontae Parker, once again, a disappointment, probably not playing this week, with an addition of Danny Amendola, who he's going to be, they keep saying he's going to fill in that Jarvis Landry role. I don't think he is as good as Jarvis Landry. Obviously, it's at the downpour of his career, but he can still catch the ball. He's a great slot receiver. He's going to catch a lot of passes.
Definitely. He caught 61 passes last year. Obviously, that's not even Tom Brady, but
really full-time player. He is that full-time player for this offense.
Exactly.
I easily think he can catch 80 passes and, close to 1,000 yards. Maybe not as much touchdowns, but he's definitely going to be
the other way around.
Play.
I think he might get less yards but more touchdowns. Okay. I think he's going to be a decent red zone option for Ryan Tannehill in that offense, especially with a Devontae Parker missing. I know he's not that big body guy, but does he know how to get open? Yes, he does, without a doubt.
But then there's another guy that you kind of liked in preseason.
Oh, yeah.
Albert Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think he's going to do this week? He's starting because of Devontae Parker.
I think Albert Wilson is another one of those guys that's just solid. And I don't know if he's worth starting this week because there's not enough guys that are injured or not able to play bye weeks or whatever to start Albert Wilson. But I think you're going to see them getting the ball to Albert Wilson on a pretty consistent basis. I don't, like I said, I wouldn't start him this week, but I do think he's going to get fed the ball, and he's probably going to be the guy that scores out of anybody. Albert Wilson, on some long break-off play like he does. He
played really well. Last question about the Dolphins.
I have another guy on the Dolphins.
Okay.
Their tight end.
Okay.
Right?
Hmm?
Young buck, Micah Sicky. What do you think?
I'm not starting him. I don't know what to expect from him.
Yeah.
In preseason, I think he caught one pass, so that's a little nerve-wracking.
6'6",
but he's got the size, he's got the talent, but they always say that tight end is one of the hardest positions to learn when you first get to the NFL, so usually it's year 2 or year 3 they start picking it up. Obviously Evan Ingram had an amazing year last year, so he said, I ain't listening to what you guys are saying, what you critics are saying about this. I'm going to have a good year. So he definitely has potential, especially with their starting tight end tearing his ACL. So that was a huge loss for the Dolphins recently.
Yeah, definitely. It could bring a good opportunity for him. And I got him really, really late in one of my drafts just due to not picking one up earlier.
Yeah.
But
so
we'll see.
Titans, I'm starting Dion Lewis, starting Derrick Henry.
Delaney Walker, obviously.
Yeah, Delaney Walker's obviously start.
Must.
The thing about this team is their receivers.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one question I have about them. Obviously, Corey Davis was drafted to be that number 1 receiver. Rashad Matthews just got a really weird extension, so they like him. They want him there. He's going to be playing this weekend. Who are you starting? Would you rather start Corey Davis or Rashad Matthews?
Corey Davis. I'm high on Corey Davis.
But Corey Davis hasn't proven anything to us.
And he will, week 1.
Okay.
He's going to prove it, week 1. And I definitely don't discount Rashard Matthews because, they know what they have in Rashard Matthews. They're going to try and get the ball to him. But Corey Davis is going to pull off some big plays, and everyone's going to be wowed, without a doubt.
Okay. Sounds good. Are you starting Rashard Matthews, though?
I mean, deeper leagues, maybe, that double flex, whatever. I don't think I'm starting Rashard Matthews, but I do have him as a roster spot for those times when, next week we could really prove this week how he's involved in that offense.
Mariota trusts him.
Mariota trusts him, but what happens is all offseason they built no connection, whereas Corey Davis and Mariota did.
But
we
they
heard
already
nothing.
had that connection.
They did, but we know how quick connections can fade, in my opinion. So it's going to be interesting to see, but without a doubt, I'd go Corey Davis. He has more upside and long-term longevity. I would go Corey Davis as well.
So are you picking Titans or Dolphins in this one?
I'm going Titans away.
Me too. So We'll see.
We'll see.
Best of luck to you, Ryan Tannehill. You've been off for a while. Let's see what you got, man.
And that's one of my reasons. Is he's coming off a gnarly injury. The first year always back from an injury is a timid year in my opinion. I think next year Ryan Tannehill will have a really good year, but I think they're still going to be getting in the groove. Whereas the Titans, they're in the groove. They're going to be ready to destroy.
All right,
I'm going Titans heavy.
Yeah, we'll see. Next game, 49ers, Vikings. I think this is a pretty easy game to cover. The Vikings, I'm starting Kirk Cousins. I'm starting Dalvin Cook. I'm starting Kyle Rudolph. I'm starting Stephon Diggs. And I'm starting Adam Thielen. On top of that, I'm starting the Vikings defense. So
Look at that.
I think that's pretty straightforward. Do you disagree with any of those guys?
Absolutely not. But I would love to flip it back on the 49ers side because we know we got in the Vikings. I mean, you're starting everybody.
Yes,
that's a crazy good team. But back on the 49ers side, I would love to know what you're thinking about their situations. We're talking about Marquise Goodwin, who you love. I would love to know, though, Pierre Garcon is not being talked about anywhere. Are you starting Pierre Garcon? Because I don't see why you wouldn't. He's a wide receiver one in an offense that is probably going to be playing from behind and is going to be throwing the rock and going to want to get points on the board. So, are you starting Pierre Garcon?
Yeah, I am. Pierre Garcon, I had him last year in one of my leagues, and I love the guy. He is a possession receiver. So he's going to get open. He's going to make those big third down conversions. He's going to gain the trust of Jimmy Garoppolo. It has seemed as if Marquise Goodwin and Garoppolo had that connection, and everyone's saying that Marquise Goodwin could be that number one. I think Marquise Goodwin and Pierre Garcon are going to be a 1A, 1B type of squad right there.
Yep.
But I'm starting both those guys. They're going to have to throw the ball against the Vikings defense. They might be able to, I think Pierre Garcon will get more catches, less yardage. I think that Marquise Goodwin will get those big passes. Garoppolo will toss it down the field. The more interesting thing that I think to talk about is the running back situation with Jerick McKinnon being hurt.
So, you mentioned Alfred Morris and who I would start. We didn't mention Matt Breida. Matt Breida is listed as their starter. Behind an offensive line, Joe Staley's still on their team. They just drafted a Mike McGlinchey, whatever the hell it's called. He, second best offensive lineman in my opinion in last year's draft. That offensive line is going to be able to keep Jimmy Garoppolo
Weston Richburg,
exactly.
Contract. So, I mean, they're trying to run the ball, I think, but it's going to be tough against this Vikings defense.
Yep, and it's going to be tough. It definitely will be, but I think, they can get something going. And as long as they can pass the ball, it should open up the run. And then they have the receivers to do that. And it's just crazy that no one's really talking about Pierre Garcon. Not crazy because I can understand why he's not that wow guy anymore, but I think he's going to be pretty consistent this year.
Yeah, and I think it's more of a Matt Breida than Alfred Morris game this week. I think it's all about gameplay with those guys because Alfred Morris pounds the rock. Mm-hmm. And that guy runs that zone run that Kyle Shanahan loves. And he's going to get yardage. He's not going to catch any passes, though. If you're in a PPR league, Alfred Morris's value goes down a little bit. Matt Breida's goes up. If you're in a standard league, I would take Alfred Morris all day long with the way they're going to run the ball with him. I do think that the 49ers get down, so they'll have to throw the ball, so there'll be more volume for Matt Breida.
Nice.
But, and then last guy to talk about in this offense is
George Kittle.
George Kittle, who I have now on a couple leagues, and I'm really nervous about him. I had him last year. He's been injury prone.
Yep, coming off the preseason where he got injured.
He was hurt the whole preseason, so who knows? They say he's 100%. They say he's going to play. He's going to go all out. So we'll see. I might be one of those guys next week looking for a tight end on the waiver wire because George Kittle either gets hurt or does nothing like he did a few games last year.
I got Jordan Reed. Let's go, Jordan Reed. Let's see if we can talk a little trade bait after week 1, son.
So who are you going with, 49ers or Vikings? I think we already agreed this
one. Vikings at home. Defense is too lethal. But I can't wait to watch a Richard Sherman and that defense with Ramon Foster and whatnot coming together. It's going to be cool to see the 49ers defense trying to glue. So, yeah. But I definitely got Vikings at home in week 1.
I think 49ers have a bright future, that's for sure, especially with, Garoppolo.
And we're talking about an undefeated Garoppolo with the 49ers. He's coming into this game undefeated.
Yes. Playing against Rams number 2s last year.
He might be 5-1.
Yep.
But we'll see.
I think it's his time to lose, but a lot of people keep comparing him to Tom Brady, and if he is Tom Brady, he's going to win. So, talking about Tom Brady, What about Tom Brady against the Texans, the Deshaun Watson-led Texans that you are super high on? So I'm going to let you take the floor on Deshaun Watson and this Texans
So
team.
this is an afternoon game, 1 p.m. obviously Eastern time. Or no, is that 10 a.m. still? My bad. This is still a 10 a.m. game. Early morning game. Set your lineups, obviously. So not too early, not London time. But Texans offense. I really think they're going to come into Gillette Stadium and put on a show. And I'm talking about everybody. Lamar Miller, DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, Deshaun Watson. They are all about to put on a show against this Patriots
Speaking
team.
of Will Fuller,
he
might not play.
Definitely.
Yeah, he might not play. So
I think
if
they're just throwing
play,
up signals. I think Will Fuller's good to go.
if he doesn't play, what receiver on that offense besides Will Fuller do you think will do something? What they just released what's his name? Quarterback converted to receiver, Braxton Miller.
They did sign a Sammy Coates, or did they trade for a Sammy Coates? I think they traded for a Sammy Coates.
I think they picked him up off waiver, but they've been really high on
Kiki Kute.
Bruce Ellington.
Oh, and Bruce Ellington, definitely.
I think he is a sleeper this week. That
for sure.
No, he's on all waiver wires right now.
Yeah, and he's someone that you always find a way to get Bruce Ellington those. I mean, I don't know if you get him those weeks, but you definitely know when to get Bruce Ellington the last couple of years. But anywho, I don't know. If Will Fuller doesn't play, I don't know if I'm starting any of the other receivers, in my opinion. I'm going DeAndre Hopkins, Lamar Miller show all day. And then I'm interested to see what Bruce Ellington is doing. But like I said, there's not enough people to be injured this week that I would need to start the next Houston Texans receiver up over someone else in the waiver wire right now. Yeah. So if Will Fuller doesn't play, I'm not playing any other receiver in that offense. But I do like the rest of that offense. I am a little curious about that offensive line. I hope it can stick together like glue and keep Deshaun Watson standing upright and making plays, doing what they do.
We'll see.
But obviously, on the other side of that, Tom Brady's going to keep up with any offense that the Texans have. Rob Gronkowski is about to have a humongous game. Chris Hogan was a great draft pick. If you picked him, I'm jealous because I know that Chris Hogan's going to get major work in this offense, especially week one against, who a Texans defense it could be a top 5 defense.
Yeah,
they are scary good. They're talking about one of the best safeties in the league, Tyrann Mathieu going over there. J.J. Watt healthy. Got corners. I mean, I think that's a pretty lethal defense. So it's going to be a really tough matchup for the Patriots at home, in my opinion, especially with all the hype around the Texans right now.
What running back on the Patriots are you starting?
None. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I obviously, everyone's heard Rex Burkhead has that number 1 role right now, but I haven't drafted a single Patriots running back in a single draft because of the reason I don't know. Everybody thinks they know, but no one knows what Bill Belichick's going to do. Yeah. Rex Burkhead's going to have a great week 1 probably. And then next weekend, Jeremy Hill's going to come out of nowhere and have 3 touchdowns just like Mike Gillislee did a couple years ago. And then Sonny Michael's going to get healthy and then Sonny's going to be the guy. So it's really hard for me to make any decisions on those running backs. And I'm probably leaving 1 or 2 out.
You're leaving James White, who I would start this week.
Exactly.
So I think James White and Rex Burkhead will be the guys. Obviously, Jeremy Hill will get those touchdowns like Mike Gillislee did.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sony Michel, once he was a first-round pick, so once he comes back, they're obviously going to put him in there.
I love Sony for Dynasty.
And I don't think that Rex Burkhead can stay healthy all year. Yeah, once again, he's hurt again. So, anyways, who are you taking, Texans or Patriots?
Definitely tough to root against Tom Brady and not root against, but to pick against them at home. I'm just too high on the Houston Texans, though. I think Deshaun Watson's going to put everything out on the table. DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, they're all going to put so much out to try and get this week 1 win away. So I'm going Texans, I think, in Foxborough.
Cool. I think Patriots win. I think it's a high-scoring game.
Definitely.
That's why I think that James White is the running back to play this week. Chris Hogan, sleeper status is a Philip Dorsett maybe.
Mm-hmm. Tom Brady's looking like he's comfortable throwing the ball too.
He's the number 2 listed receiver on the team behind Chris Hogan until Julian Edelman gets back. But
I can't wait for that.
It's going to be a high-scoring game. Next game, though, Buccaneers at Saints.
Mm-hmm.
This one's going to be, I think, Saints all day. I think it's pretty obvious. I think you know who to start on their team. Once again, Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas.
But what about Cameron Meredith? Are you starting him this week? What about an Anthony Miller?
I don't know what to think of
anyone behind Michael Thomas
besides Ted Ginn. I think,
of course.
I think Ted Ginn's definitely someone you could rely on to start this week. Last year, he had a pretty solid year as a number 2. Do I think he stays as a number 2 all year? It's quite possible. If he stays as consistent as he did last year, he had a career year last year. So,
but let's flip it to the Bucs side. Saints are
well,
obvious.
there's one more guy I want to talk about on the Saints real quick.
Talk to me.
Maybe 2 guys. Tight end, Ben Watson, had a career year when he was there a few years back. So he's definitely someone that if you need a tight end, he's someone that you can start, hoping for a touchdown and a few catches. And then in the backfield, we have Mike Gillislee, a touchdown scoring machine. Alvin Kamara is their number 1 guy, but they signed him and cut all the other running backs. So they only have Alvin Kamara and Mike Gillislee. So Mike Gillislee is going to get tons of work, I think. Would you possibly start him this week?
Nope. I think they're playing Alvin Kamara 100% of the game.
I think that the Saints get up on the Buccaneers and Mike Gillislee has the potential to score a touchdown. So if you are completely desperate and you have nobody, you're in a 14-team league and you are desperate because you drafted LeVeon Bell, but you didn't get James Conner. Now you're like scrambling and the waivers, suck dry. I think Gillislee is definitely a low end running back that you can start on hopes of a touchdown, maybe 2, just like last year in the beginning of the game. But that transitions us to the Buccaneers. What do you think this Buccaneers offense has in store for us without a Jameson Winston? And then obviously them going super high on a Ronald Jones that has done nothing all preseason. So
who's listed as their number 3 running back, I bet he won't even play week 1.
They might get him a couple touches to see if he can make anything, but I don't think it's going to happen. But anyways, why don't you give us your little...
someone that I want to, talk about is Chris Godwin. I think we're all really high on Godwin. I think he might even be the guy in this offense that might see the work this week due to the Saints DBs being locking down a Mike Evans, trying their best to lock down a Deshaun Jackson. I think Godwin's the guy that's going to see some ability to get open, and Fitzpatrick obviously showed in preseason he's comfortable throwing the ball to him, and he's got promising hands. He's a big body guy. I really like him. So I think he's the guy that I would even possibly start in this offense. Obviously, you're starting to Mike Evans. You almost have to when you draft him. But it's going to be an interesting year, or beginning of the year for them, seeing what that offense can bring, relying on a Peyton Barber and really a Jaquiz Rogers to run that offense. Hey, Jaquiz has done it before, Peyton's done it before, but both are injury prone, and hey, Ronald Jones could be that starting guy before we know it due to injuries. But, I like Jameis Winston in this offense, and until I see him in this offense, I'm not thrilled about anybody really. They do have a solid defense, though, so that could really give them opportunity on offense. But I don't know. Obviously, Saints destroy them this week.
I think Saints is just too good of a team, and it might be one of those games where the thing about Peyton Barber is he can catch the ball as well as run the ball. So I don't think he's going to be completely shut out of this game, even if they get down pretty low. But I think the Saints do take this one at home. Moving on to the next game, we have Jaguars at Giants. This is definitely an interesting game that I'm excited to watch. I know you're excited to watch. Odell is your boy.
It's about to be the Odell
is my
show.
boy. But is it going to be the Odell show
Yes,
with this Jaguars solid defense, not mentioning the 2 of the best corners in the league?
Sure. So, obviously, Jalen or Bowie's going to be on Odell any point of the game. And I don't care. Odell's going to smoke them and do what he does and show why he's worth every single penny that the Giants signed him for. I have a feeling he's going to make these corners look really silly and going to shut Jalen Ramsey up pretty quick, even though I love everything Jalen Ramsey is doing. But I don't think they have the ability to shut down Odell. I just really don't. I think he's going to have a pretty damn good week. I think he is going to have a top 10 this week regardless of who he's playing.
Are you starting any of the other pass catchers for the Giants this week?
Evan Ingram's healthy, and I like Evan Ingram. The
flip
side of that,
Coleman and Telvin Smith, I'm sorry,
and
Miles Jack, two of the fastest linebackers.
That's hard for Ingram, because the one thing he does have, though, is speed, whereas any other tight end that the Jacksonville Jaguars are playing, the linebacker has that edge on that tight end is speed. So Evan Ingram, if he can separate from one of these guys, he's going to be able to get catches. He catches balls, so he's going to be able to get catches. Who's another really good guy in this offense is Sterling Shepard. He's being drafted really late, Sterling Shepard. I think he's going to have 1,000 yards receiving this year, without a doubt. I think Sterling's going to be able to flourish this year because of Saquon, because of an Odell. Sterling's kind of that third guy that everyone's not going to be thinking about, and Sterling's going to put up 1,000 yards this year.
Wow, that is a bold statement right there. But speaking of Saquon Barkley, what do you think he does this week?
So, I think he gets kind of shut down a little. But because I'm saying that is obviously because Jaguars have the best defense in the league.
That was one area that they did struggle in last year.
But it was fluctuated. It was fluctuated due to a couple games that they were up extremely high and teams were able to run the ball on them because they weren't worried about it. They were up by a lot, so teams were running the ball and getting yards on. It was completely fluctuated. If you really look at the stats, they were a top 10 team in run defense as well before those games where they got fluctuated. So I really do think Saquon's going to have a rough week, but it doesn't discount starting him. He's going to catch passes out of the backfield. He's going to get yards. He even has the potential to score touchdowns. So I'm still loving Saquon, but I do think it's going to be one of the rougher weeks for him. And not to mention a hard year. They have the second hardest schedule for running backs going into this year, only behind Todd Gurley and the Rams. So it's going to be interesting seeing if he can flourish this year. Saquon is arguably one of the best running backs in the league because he's got the hardest matchups behind Todd Gurley. So
are you starting Eli Manning?
Not yet. I do like
so
him. So
you have a bold statement of Sterling Shepard having 1,000 yards this year, and obviously you love Odell.
Mm-hmm.
So with them taking over with an Evan Ingram, you're still nervous to start Eli Manning?
I'm not nervous to start Eli Manning. I'm just in the spot again where there's still more quarterbacks out there that are going to possibly put up more points than Eli that I'd start over Eli. But once we hit our bye weeks, once we start hitting injuries going on, I'm picking up Eli all day and starting him on a weekly basis, just like I end up doing usually every single year, because usually I always have Odell Dylan. But anyway, so I'm not discounting starting Eli.
I'm going to stop you right now. I'm going to interrupt you. All I have to say is your fault. You traded Odell last year. You traded him.
I know.
You had him.
But I wouldn't have kept him because I had Todd and Lev. So don't freak out.
Either way, he's on my team now.
Great.
Anyway, so
you guys see what I'm dealing with here?
Oh
Hostile. We might have to sit in separate rooms.
Anyways, let's move on to the Jaguar side of the ball now. We have, obviously, Leonard Fournette's an obvious start. I think he's a must start every single week. You need to shut your mouth right now.
Mr. Obvious. I want to talk about the receivers.
Yes, that is the receivers and quarterback. Those are two of the main points of this conversation that you're questioning. Obviously, they lost Marquise Lee, their number one receiver this offseason. But I was actually higher on Keelan Cole. And I still have confidence in Keelan Cole this year to produce as a number one receiver. I'm not saying a wide receiver one. He'll probably be more of the wide receiver two stat range because Jaguars are more of a running team. Mm-hmm. But they do have, I believe, the 32nd or 31st easiest schedule. So they have an easy schedule when it comes to throwing the ball, whether it be quarterback or receiver. Mm-hmm. So I think Blake Bortles definitely is someone that should be on your roster. If he's not, that is an issue. He's gonna make plays. You know, with that running game being so strong, it opens up that passing game. A lot of guys stack the box against Leonard Fournette.
And to Dylan's point, they do have the easiest quarterback schedule going into this year, and Blake Bortles is probably on every single waiver wire in the world. So he's one of those guys that's definitely worth a start with options in that offense, undoubtedly.
And, with Leonard Fournette, I was saying they stacked the box. They had one of the highest percentages of 48% of 8+ run defenders in that box. So they almost half the time put 8 players in that box where it's leaving these receivers on islands, one-on-one coverage. So Keelan Cole is a great route runner. I think he's going to be able to get open. D.D. Westbrook is also someone to think about and think about picking up. So he might be one of those guys at the end of this week that has a big week. That might be a waiver wire guy. Not to mention Dante Moncrief, for they paid a lot of money for a 1-year prove-it deal. So
who nobody is talking about and was weekly a start on the Colts when he was healthy.
He was pretty touchdown dependent, which I still think he's going to score a decent amount of touchdowns in this offense.
He had a lot of upside in that offense, but he kind of reminds me of a Martavis Bryant. But not to mention the fact that they drafted DJ Chark, the fastest player, I think, in this last draft. I could be wrong about that, but he was one of the fastest players in last year's draft. I don't know what we're going to see out of DJ, but I know he has solid hands, and he's fast as lightning. So it's going to be interesting to see if they just dump it off to him and what he can do with the ball. But there's options in this offense, so there's easy starts across this board. You're starting Jacksonville every week besides a bye week defensive-wise. So.
Are you starting Blake Bortles or Patrick Mahomes?
That's a good question. If you look at who the Chiefs are playing, which I think we should just transition to at the end of this question.
Yes.
They're playing the Chargers, and I think in this matchup, the Giants' defense are going to be a little kinder on the pass defense, I should say. So I'm liking Blake Bortles this week, and with those options against the New York Giants. So
you like the Jaguars to win this game?
no,
Wow.
no.
So you got the Giants winning.
At home, Odell, Saquon, Sterling. It's going down in New York. They're making statements week 1 and beating the Jacksonville Jaguars. But Jacksonville's going to come back week 2 and probably not going to lose another game until they meet the Packers. So.
I think Jags win this game. But speaking of Patrick Mahomes, let's talk about Chiefs at Chargers.
Woo!
Chargers are looking mighty fine this year. Chiefs are more of a question mark. So why don't you let us know what you think about this Chiefs offense and what they're going to do this week?
I'm super high on Pat Mahomes. That was not to discount him by any means, but the Chargers defense looks so good. That addition to Derwin James this year is unbelievable. Super sad to see Jason Verrett go down because that defense would be just comparable to the Jacksonville Jaguars in my opinion. Obviously, Casey Hayward's going to hold it down. Just do what he does. They are playing without a Joey Bosa this week. So I am... And a team, Chargers, who didn't have the best run defense last year. Mind you, they're a great defense, and I think they turned that around this year. It's more of a focal point, but I'm really liking a Pat Mahomes, a Tyreek Hill, and I'm loving Kareem Hunt this week, definitely. I think, unfortunately, the Chiefs go into Chargers, and because Bosa's out, I think that's definitely going to affect them. And the Chiefs' defense, on the other hand, is sneakily not that bad. People are saying, like, oh, they lost Marcus Peters, they're done. They still have a lot of guys on that team still. They got Houston, they got Eric Berry, they got guys that can make plays. So I'm not going to discount them at all, but, it's going to be, in my opinion, a high-scoring game because they both have holes that each other's offense are going to take advantage of. Both have such elite offenses. I'm not necessarily starting either D this week. If you can get out of starting the Chargers defense, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think all these players are going to flourish. You're talking Keenan Allen, Melvin Gordon, Phillip Rivers as a start. I like Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Kareem Hunt, like I said. So, in my opinion, this is a high offensive-powered game, and we see a lot of points out of it.
I think that I'm not starting Pat Mahomes. I think Chargers defense is someone to start this week. I think he throws a few picks. Yeah, I think he probably scores a few points, but I don't think it's going to be a super high-scoring game.
Pat Mahomes is going to put himself on the mat this week.
All right, we'll see about that. I'm taking Chargers in this one.
At
Pretty
home.
Heavy favored, in my opinion.
And it's going to be a clear, beautiful, sunny California day, baby.
Yes,
so
sir.
It's going to be a good day of football.
It is. It's awesome.
For that game.
LA Chargers. Redskins at Cardinals. This one, I think we have a few question marks.
Definitely.
Obviously, on the Cardinals side of the ball, Sam Bradford, brand new starting quarterback, barely beat Josh Rosen out in the preseason for the job. He's a big question mark. I'm not starting him unless it's a 2-quarterback league or you're desperate, which, like you've mentioned before, there's plenty of quarterbacks out there that I would rather start over him.
Mm-hmm.
David Johnson must start every single week. I think it's going to be a huge year for him. And then receivers. Larry Fitzgerald's for sure starting. Other than that, I'm not starting any of those Cardinals receivers until they prove something to me. That's my input on the Cardinals side of the ball. Jake, why don't you let us know what you think about the Redskins this week?
Well, Redskins with Alex Smith, I think he's a start, definitely, because he's good at not turning the ball over, I should say. So he's going to funnel feed the ball to Jordan Reed, going to funnel feed the ball to any one of his receivers. Jamison Crowder. I think Josh Doxson has a sneakily good year this year if he can just stay freaking healthy. And not to mention they got Paul Richardson, who was amazing in Seattle, obviously.
I think Paul Richardson has a better year than Josh Doxson this year.
I completely agree. And, I think with it being week 1, Adrian Peterson is a must start this week against this Cardinals defense. Otherwise, I'm scared of that Cardinals defense because they got some nasty weapons back there. So I am liking AP just strictly due to his volume. He's going to get 20-plus touches in this game, in my opinion. They're going to have to feed him the rock. And him being so fresh, I think this is a really good week to start Adrian Peterson if you can. So that's where I'm at. The receivers do kind of scare me. But because of, obviously, the DBs in the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm really only starting Jamison Crowder or, like you said, the tight end, Jordan Reed.
You bet.
Other than that, those receivers I'm not really going to touch. And I think it's more of a Chris Thompson game because I do think that, or I shouldn't say it's more of a, I'm saying if the Cardinals get up.
They won't.
If the Cardinals get up.
I don't think that offense looks scary enough to get up.
They're a big question mark.
Definitely.
But they did work on their offensive line, and they have David Johnson, one of the best guys in the league. So
True.
it could be a completely different Cardinals offense this year that we're not expecting. Sam Bradford has always proven to be a really good quarterback. He's nothing flashy, but he always is one of the top guys in completion percentages. So he knows how to get the ball in the right spot to the right people.
Against the Josh Norman, though, we'll see.
Yeah,
It's
we'll
gonna
see.
be tough.
I'm going Cardinals over Redskins this week at home.
I'm picking a lot of away teams going into the home teams and winning. So I got Redskins over the Cardinals in this one. Believe it or not, because Cardinals shut out some teams in preseason and look pretty scary with that defense, So I do like. I don't know, actually. This is tough. I just, honestly, I might be being a little biased, but I want to see Jordan Reed kill it, and I think he's going to score some touchdowns and be the edge in both these offenses. Jordan Reed's just a man amongst
He's the best
men.
receiver on that team.
Man amongst boys, I mean. So I think he could really be the edge in this game, but it'll be an interesting matchup. It is domed as well, so we don't got to worry about any weather issues.
So start Adrian Peterson, guys. You heard it first.
That's
from
right.
Your man, Jay
Your
Boy,
boy.
over here.
So talk to us still about this next game. It's a clear matchup in sunny Denver, Colorado. All right. So what are you thinking? They're playing the Seattle Seahawks, who this is an afternoon game. So one of the first afternoon games. We'll touch base on Cowboys Panthers right after this. But Seahawks traveling into Denver. Seahawks are really questionable this year. A lot of question marks all over the offense, all over the defense. I want you to tell me what you think Seattle's going to be able to come into Denver and do this week.
I think that, Russell Wilson is going to do stuff no matter who they're playing. He's going to make plays no matter what. He's got his legs, and he runs around, and he throws the ball on the run better than a lot of guys in the league. So I think that you can easily start Russell Wilson every week, just like last year. He was the number one guy.
Okay, let me ask you this. With two, young running backs, I'd say, Royce Freeman now has that starting depth chart position on the Broncos, and Chris Carson has the starting depth spot on the Seattle Seahawks. I know you're high on Chris Carson, but Royce Freeman looks incredible. And, Seattle's defense we're a little shaky on, possibly. I do think Shaquem Griffin's going to have a good year. But anyways, who you going, Chris Carson or Royce Freeman in this week? I think
they're both tough matchups. I think, obviously Seahawks lost a lot of key players on their team, but they still have Bobby Wagner, one of the best middle linebackers in the league that can stop that run, stuff it,
Sure.
So I think that Royce is going to have a decent game. The thing that scares me about the Chris Carson situation is Rashad Penny. I love Chris Carson. He's looked great this entire preseason. He won the job.
But it might be a timeshare.
It might be, but I think that Chris Carson, it's been proven that the Seahawks give the ball to whoever's hot.
Mm-hmm.
So if Chris Carson comes out and pounds it, he's going to stay in. But if he's not making plays, they're going to substitute Rashad Penny, and if he starts making plays, he's going to get the ball. So that's more of a foggy spot, even though I think it should be Chris Carson. I'm not starting him. I have him. I'm not starting him because I'm not sure I have other guys that I'm more confident in.
So that would be the same probably for Rashad Penny. You're telling guys to probably not start Rashad Penny this year?
Definitely not.
Or this week, sorry.
I wouldn't even. I mean, I think Chris Carson is the guy, and I think it's going to prove to us this week. But it's week one. We're not sure what's going to happen, really.
Because people are drafting Rashad Penny as their flex or RB2.
He was a first-round pick, so they obviously love him, but it happens all the time where first-round guys or second-round guys, come in and they don't do as well as, say, a fifth, sixth-round undrafted guy like Chris Carson. So I do think Chris Carson is the leader in that backfield, at least for touches, leading the backfield in first and second down. Maybe not be that third down back, but Royce Freeman, I think he's more of a clear starter in that offense, so I probably will go with him. I do think the Broncos probably do beat them at home. It's a tough matchup. Broncos have a great defense. Like you said, with the addition of Bradley Chubb, he's a beast. Him and Von Miller on each side. It's going to be tough for these guys. Yeah,
I think that leads to a lot of Russell Wilson sacks, in my opinion, just due to how bad the Seahawks offensive line is at the same time.
Russell Wilson, he said that this is the best his offensive line has been in a long time, and he really loves a group of guys in front of him. So on paper they look bad. Yeah, on paper they look bad, but for him to put that out there, that's pretty.
Sure, it's positive.
Yeah, exactly. The receiver situation in both offenses, Doug Baldwin is really the guy who
said he's not going to be 100% all year.
He's not, but a lot of people drafted him as their number one or even number two guy. So
you snagged him.
You might have to start him. You might have to start him based off of.
And you're going to start
unless he gets hurt and he's out for the year. I'm going to play him.
But remember, he's going to have a Chris Harris Jr. on the other side, probably shadowing him all day.
He does like to go into the slot too, and I guess Chris Harris will follow him in there. But Seattle, and then too, we can touch base on Tyler Lockett too. But I'm really curious about these Broncos receivers. I think they're both wide receiver.
Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas are both worth starting in this offense. 100%. Are they not?
100%. I mean, I'm starting Emmanuel Sanders this week. You're starting Demaryius Thomas this week. I
Yep.
think we both can start with confidence.
Yeah.
It is a hungry Earl
Keenum.
Thomas
Oh, sure.
back there. He's going to be making plays, but he's not going to be covering these guys one-on-one. So it's going to be a big game out of him. I don't know if there's going to be those deep passes, but they're going to definitely catch a lot of passes,
Mhm.
intermediate to short passes. And I think Case Keenum has a really good game as well.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely startable with those guys in a DFS league. I would maybe stack those three guys together. You never know what you're going to get out of them. But the Seahawks defense could come out. Right now, it looks really shaky. It looks like that organization is all over the place. So it looks like a rough season coming towards the Seahawks. And to start off in Denver on the first week of the season with a whole new life with Case Keenum there, I think the Broncos do come out on top pretty heavy, and that's why I'm not starting Chris Carson. And like I said, I'm going to start Russell Wilson every week if I have to, and then Doug Baldwin is the start. But other than those guys, I'm not starting really anyone on that offense.
Love it. Well, why don't we jump to a different game, Dill? I want to talk about Panthers versus Cowboys. Cowboys, a team that lost a lot of players this offseason that were probably unexpected at the same time. They're traveling into Panthers team who's looking really good overall as a team. Defense is healthy, offense is healthy. They got some new acquisitions for Cam Newton, some new weapons. What do you think, Dill? What do you think about their running back situation in Carolina with having Christian McCaffrey? CJ Anderson's not really being drafted as anybody to worry about, but is he possibly going to get some work in that offense?
He will. He's gonna break him or whatever you want. He's gonna spell him when he's tired. But Christian McCaffrey is obviously the guy to own. He's the guy to own, and he's gonna get tons of volume this year, and he's gonna be in there until he takes himself out. Yeah. So I've dropped C.J. Anderson in a couple leagues because of the confidence in Christian McCaffrey.
There's other guys probably with higher upside in that waiver wire that might be worth the spot on your roster over a C.J. Anderson, who is, like you said, going to break off Christian McCaffrey when needed.
Definitely,
who I want to touch base on is the receivers for Cam Newton. Obviously, Greg Olsen, a back injury popped up this week, so that's a little worrisome.
Yes, this morning.
Sorry,
popped
breaking
up the
news.
Day before, the day
game
before
day.
Game day. Yeah,
so that's a little
really
worrisome, but hopefully it's just something that's an old injury that they're just putting out that is not lingering whatsoever. But that's Cam's favorite target at the end of the day is Greg Olsen, the most reliable target. But they do have a Devin Funchess who's 6'6".
He's a must start. He is a must start.
He's Cam Newton's number one guy besides Greg Olsen, in my opinion, throwing the ball too. But they have a lot of young guys that are sick. Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore, I don't think either one of which are a start this week, but they are going to be fun to watch and see what they have for the future.
Curtis Samuel's out this week, I think, with an injury, so we're not going to see him very much. DJ Moore.
That means DJ Moore could step up in this offense and really show a chemistry with Cam Newton that we didn't expect, and luckily I drafted Cam Newton and DJ Moore. DJ Moore was my last pick in the draft, so hopefully he does flourish and takes over that spot that
Torrey Smith has right now.
That Torrey Smith has, which showed a lot of promise in offseason or in preseason as well. Cam seems to like the over the top ability with Torrey Smith, so that's always nice to kind of replace a Ted Ginn, with that over top ability. Cam's been missing, so that'll be interesting to see. But let's flip it to the Cowboys side, Dill. I mean, I hate the Cowboys, so I'm gonna let you talk about them. Obviously, they got the best offensive line in the league. We know about Zeke, but
Travis Frederick out for the year.
Out.
So that is a huge hit to their offensive line.
Still one of the best offensive lines in the league.
And Tyron Smith throughout the preseason had problems, some issues that also make me nervous. Zach Martin is obviously one of the best guards in the league. So that offensive line could fall apart by midseason.
Wow.
And so Zeke is still a must start this week, obviously, every week.
What I really want to know is Dak. What do you think about Dak and his current Allen Hurns and Gallup and all these other guys in this offense now? I would love to know what you think, and is Dak worth a start this week?
I'm not starting him. And when it comes to receivers, the question is what receiver? Who are you choosing out of the 3-4 receivers on their team?
I really like the upside with Gallup. I think
so. You're starting Gallup over any of those guys?
No. I'm
saying week 1. Who are you thinking?
Allen Hurns.
You're thinking Allen Hurns?
I am.
I'm thinking Cole Beasley.
And
that's a problem.
PPR,
we don't know.
We don't know. No one knows.
I'm not starting any of those guys.
I think Allen Hurns, though, is the number one guy. So, given the chance, Allen Hurns could see the most opportunity. But, dude, Cole Beasley could have 8 to 10 receptions. He really could. But I think they're really going to rely on Zeke in this game and throughout the season to just put in work, screen passes, hand the ball off, zones, everything they can to get Zeke the ball.
This is Dak's make it or break it year. So if Dak wants to be elite. He wants to be one of those guys around a long time. He has to prove that he can do it without a Des Bryant, without a Jason Wynn.
A Jason Wynn, they're talking about a Jason Wynn who was the most reliable tight end throughout his whole career, and now they have a Jeff Swaim and a Blake Jarwin. Who? I mean, there's.
I think out of anyone, Blake Jarwin has the most upside out of these guys, and Dak looks for his tight ends a lot.
And that's what scares me is if these guys can't do it, then he's really going to struggle this year because of how much he relies on that tight end.
Yeah, so
And with not having a Dez too, that's going to be crazy. But they only have 4 players on their wide receiver roster right now. That's pretty insane. They're running things pretty tight. I'd imagine they might draft someone in the offseason. Just kidding. They got 6 players on their roster. What do you think about Tavon Austin?
I think Tavon Austin, this is his, once again, make it or break it year. He's on a 1-year deal. So if he can't do anything this year, then he is either going to just be a return guy for the rest of his career, which he has proven to not be the best at catching the ball. He's fumbled it multiple times on those, but has scored a lot of touchdowns.
And, the beginning of preseason, he was listed as a running back on their team, and they only have 2 running backs in that offense, Rod Smith and Zeke Elliott. Now they have him listed as a wide receiver.
So he's both. He's going to play running back. He's going to play receiver, so that gives him some upside with getting more points. But
getting more volume.
If these receivers in this offense don't step up and they don't do anything, Tavon Austin is a former first-round pick with lots of experience, so he definitely can do something. But I'm not starting this week, and I'm not starting him until he proves anything. And I'm really not starting anyone on this Cowboys offense this week except for Zeke. But so that being said, I'm going Panthers this week.
I agree. And Panthers defense is looking good. And hey, not to discount Cowboys either because they got some sick players on that defense. But I think Cam Newton gets the job done at home this week.
Yes, sir.
And makes everyone happy.
That brings us to our Sunday night game.
This is a crazy matchup. I got to take this one from you.
This is all you, Jay.
We got a Bears coming into Lambeau Field playing the Green Bay Packers. All right? Green Bay Packers, 100 seasons now. This is their 100th season. I think they're coming out this year and winning themselves a Super Bowl. But the Chicago Bears have made some unbelievable acquisitions in offseason. They just got Khalil Mack. And we talked about Khalil Mack and the whole deal that went down a few days ago. And I think that changes everything for, when Aaron Rodgers and when the Bears play anybody. That is a superstar that was added to this already really good pass rushing defense, which is so scary. So, with that being said, though, I'm not gonna say that they're gonna come in and beat the Packers in Lambeau because this is a huge game. First game, A-Rod's gonna come back healthy, and not only that, the highest paid quarterback in the league, in history. So, with that being said, you're starting Devontae Adams. I cannot wait to see how many touchdowns Jimmy Graham puts on the board this year because Jimmy Graham's about to feast this year, and I think that's really gonna be a good option for Aaron Rodgers to get the ball to this week against the Bears. So Jimmy Graham's going to flourish. And a lot of people, I want to talk about this Packers running back core a little bit. A lot of people are saying Jamal Williams is the guy. He's the guy to start this week, yada, yada, yada. You're starting Ty Montgomery, who's being drafted last out of all 3 of the running backs this week, and I'm telling you this because they're going to need to throw the ball, and they're going to be able to use Ty Montgomery as a pass catcher. Not to discount Jamal Williams' pass-catching ability, but Ty Montgomery is significantly better in that category. So I do think Ty Montgomery is the guy, but what's really scary is how injury-prone Ty Montgomery is. So is Jamal Williams. I guess they all are, but it's really going to come down to who stays the healthiest even in week 1 because any ankle, anything pops up, that next guy is just going to be the guy. It could be Jamal Williams the rest of the game if Ty rolls his ankle. Or could be Ty Montgomery if Jamal Williams puts his shoulder down and hurts his shoulder. So it's really going to be interesting to see who can stay healthy. But if they both stay healthy, I got Ty Montgomery having the edge this week against the Bears.
Wow.
To flip it to the Bears.
One more question about the Packers. I think there's a lot of questions about Randall Cobb. Are you going to start Randall Cobb this week?
I'll start Randall Cobb this week without a doubt. I like everyone on that offense. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game between the two because I think Jordan Howard and the Bears, they're going to run the ball on the Packers. Even though Jordan Howard hasn't been very successful in the Packers, their last 2 matchups, he's only put up a little over 100 yards in between the 2 games. So
I think it also has to go with game flow in that situation as well. With them getting down on the Packers, because Packers have shown to be
And if that's
very
the
elite
case,
with the
I'm
offense.
confident in Mitchell Trubisky. And it sucks to say that against my Packers team, but I think Mitchell's going to surprise a lot of people this year and be very fantasy relevant because he's got a lot of options. They relied heavily on the run last year, so we didn't see anything out of Mitch. I think this year they could be playing from behind a lot, and Mitch is going to have to sling the ball. And they got Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel. They got Trey Burton in that offense now. They got weapons that he's going to be able to go off of. Not even to mention the young bucks, Anthony Miller and my boy.
Cohen.
Tariq Cohen, not even to mention. I mean, come on, that guy's a human joystick. They got a lot of options, man. So I really think.
I feel like you're discounting how good the Packers defense is going to be this year.
No, not at all. Because, on the other end, I just feel like they have a lot of options that kind of, if you really lay out everybody, you got Jair Alexander, you got Josh Jackson, you got Tramon Williams. We'll say that's the top 3 of the Packers cornerbacks. Say Tariq Cohen or Taylor Gabriel's in the slot against the Tramon Williams. They're beating him all day, which scares me. Unless they're smart enough to put a Josh Jackson or Jair Alexander in the slot. But they're going to be covering an Allen Robinson and, the bigger guys, I think, majority of the game. But I'm not discounting Packers defense because I think Packers defense are worth a start in weekly. I really do. Like, your dad drafted him, and we start him on a weekly basis because they have the sack ability, they have the fumble ability, and now we know they actually have a pass defense and they can intercept some balls. It does suck to lose Morgan Burnett. That really, really hurts the safety position, but they have a young guy, Josh Jones, who stepped up big time, and they let Morgan Burnett go because of the fact they're so confident in Josh Jones and his playmaking ability. So he's young too, so that's really promising. I think Packers are an easy start weekly due to their big playability on defense. But the Bears on defense and offense, they're solid all the way around this week. So this could be a really tough matchup for Green Bay. I do got to give the edge to Aaron Rodgers, though, in that high-powered offense to get the win in Lambeau week 1.
Yeah, I think Packers win as well.
And Khalil Mack's only been there 2 weeks. It could be – Khalil Mack's going to do Khalil Mack things, but, he's still going to be learning that defense somewhat, I'd imagine. And so it'll be interesting to see how all these pieces, and they got a lot of new guys that are still gelling, in that offense. So I think Packers with the chemistry there, Devontae Adams putting up 2 touchdowns and 8 receptions.
What about, last question, Allen Robinson? What can we expect out of him, not only this game, but for the rest of the year?
So with me being high on Mitch, I think that leads me being high on Allen Robinson. He is the clear-cut number 1 receiver in that offense, and they're going to have to rely on him. So I think Allen Robinson does have value. It all depends on health. He got signed a big contract. He can just focus on playing football and focus being that number 1 receiver on that offense. And I think Mitch is going to be able to be comfortable throwing the ball to Allen Robinson because he's that big body elite receiver that they've been really looking for these past couple of years. So perfect target for him, and if he stays healthy, I like Allen Robinson as an wide receiver 2 and possibly wide receiver 1 for the rest of the year.
Wow, so if he has a huge game this week, you're not selling high?
You can, depends on the offer, but I think he's worth a keep because of his potential usage in that offense. We're talking about a Bears team who does rely a lot on the on the run game, but that was before Matt Nagy got there and is a part of that offense. This offense now is going to be seeing a lot of Tariq Cohen, a lot of Allen Robinson, and getting that ball downfield to that big body receiver. So I'm interested to see this offense, and I think they're going to have a really good balance. Thank you, of run game to pass game, and they're going to surprise a lot of people this year.
Wow, okay.
But not being Packer, no sir, it ain't going to happen.
Go Pack. Pack, go.
Yeah, so speaking of a lot of quarterbacks, speaking of Mitch who was, second-year pro now, young quarterback, I want to get into the big rookie's first game. Week 1, he's been announced a starter. I'm talking about Jets, Sam Darnold, playing against the Detroit Lions in Detroit. This is actually the first of the 2 doubleheader of Monday night. So this is the first Monday night matchup, Dill. So I wanna ask you some questions. Is Darnold worth a start against a Detroit Lions team this week?
Yes, the
on
Detroit
Monday Night
Lions.
Football. Can you imagine rookie getting his first game, a Monday night game being the first game of the season? Talk about the spotlight. Everything's on Darnold. What do you think he's going to do? Is he going to come to Detroit and shit the bed, or is he going to come to Detroit and show people why he was drafted as a top 3 pick?
I'm going Lions defense on this one. I am not starting Sam Darnold. His first NFL game, he's looked pretty decent in preseason, but he's no Tom Brady yet, So I think that he is going to turn the ball over a few times. I think that their receivers aren't nothing to brag about. their tight end situation is nothing to brag about. So in this situation, I'm going Lions. I'm going Lions all day long. I think that it's a LeGarrette Blount game. I think
Sure.
Lions get up, and I think they pound
Pound
the
the
rock with LeGarrette Blount. Kerryon Johnson is someone I'm really high on. I'm very interested to see what he can do in live game
I
action.
think he can help them run that score up, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
it's LeGarrette Blount.
And I think if they do get up, they're going to give Kerryon Johnson the
More
chance to
opportunity.
show
Sure.
what he has, And then obviously you have the two receivers and I almost said
Marvin
Marvin Tate.
Jones.
Marvin Jones
Well,
and
mix of the
Golden
two.
Tate. So those guys are solid. Big question mark for this Lions team is their tight end position.
Mhm.
So not sure what
You
they're
know,
going
I
to do there.
do like Fells. I like that guy Fells they got on their tight in the tight end spot.
I think Luke Wilson is labeled as their starter right now. So once again, it's just, you're not sure who's going to get what.
Yeah.
So in regards to that, Jets, I don't know. Are you starting Crowell or Bilal Powell?
You know, against the Lions defense, probably not. But
I think it's more of a Powell game than a Crowell game because of them getting down and having to throw the ball.
Sure, I could see that happening, but I do think they are going to see what they, can get out of Crowell as well. They're going to try and get the run game going to begin the game. So if Crowell can get some runs going, he can score, So I think you said Bilal Powell, but I'm going more towards Crowell for this game because they're going to really try and take the pressure off Darnold and really try and rely on Crowell, who they just signed for a 3-year contract.
Yeah, they just signed Tremaine Johnson to a massive deal to try to solidify that pass defense, as well as on top of that they have who's on that other side.
Well, they got Jamal Adams.
Yeah,
back
Jamal
there, which
Adams
is
in the
scary as
back.
shit.
Let me see real quick.
Is it Buster Screen?
Let's see.
So their defense, though, I
I
love the
feel like
fact
they're
they got
building
rid
a
of Mo
solid
Wilkerson.
defense over there.
Mo Wilkerson is gone now to the Packers, baby, which is a beautiful thing.
They just signed Tremaine Johnson to a massive contract. So, with him on that one side, it's definitely going to help that passing game against like a Marvin Jones. But I think, Golden Tate is just not going to be able to get stopped.
Not even to mention a Morris Claiborne on the other side.
Who has been solid,
Definitely solid. Jamal Adams is a safety back there who is, I think, going to be a Pro Bowler this year. He might have been last year too, I forget. But I think Jamal Adams really paves his way to some big things.
They did upgrade their defense a little bit, especially signing Avery Wilson in the middle linebacker spot from the Titans, who was pretty solid, as well. So, I mean...
They did lose Mo Wilkerson, like I said. So, Wilkerson is a huge hit for them. They had to replace him with Nathan Shepard. So, it's going to be interesting to see how that D-line matches up now. They had a Leonard Williams, a Steve McClendon, and a Mo Wilkerson on that defensive line at one time. But now those were the days. But they do have a really nice DB core. So, it's going to be interesting to see. You're going Lions at home over the Jets.
And I think that Robbie Anderson or Quincy Enunwa, they both could have decent games because of, having to throw the ball. I think Lions do come out on top, and I think they come out on top pretty decently. I think it's an easy win for them.
Okay, I'm going Darnold. Rookie getting the win in Detroit.
On Monday Night Football.
On Monday Night Football. He surprises everybody, and that offense surprises everybody.
I would be shocked. I'll say that right now. I'll be shocked if Darnold comes
I'm here
out
to
and
do.
throws 3 touchdowns, no
shock
interceptions, and 500 yards. But
I
it's
don't
not
know
going to
500
happen.
yards.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Let's talk about the best game of the week, though. This is my game of the week.
Debatable.
Dun, dun, dun.
But I do have a lot of questions about this game.
Rams at Raiders, 50-0. Calling it right now. End of podcast. Let's get to it.
Talk about being biased.
But,
so this is the second Monday night matchup of the game, the cherry on top of a beautiful opening weekend of football, baby. I'm so excited. I obviously have Todd Gurley, so I cannot wait to watch what this Todd Gurley does to a Khalil Mack-less Raiders defense. Oh, I cannot wait. It's going to be exciting to watch. But Dill, preach. I want to hear you talk about this game, Rams versus Raiders in Oakland. What do you got?
We'll start off with the Raiders. Obviously, you have Amari Cooper.
Yeah, and I actually have a lot of questions about the Raiders.
Okay.
So I want to talk to you.
Okay.
I drafted a Jordy Nelson. In our two-person keeper league, I kept Lev Bell. I kept Todd Gurley. I drafted Demaryius Thomas as my first wide receiver. I wanted Amari Cooper, but he got drafted right before I picked him. I was forced to draft a couple rounds later a Jordy Nelson. I was not forced. I did have him pretty high on my board, and I went strictly off my board. But I wonder what he's going to do in this Derek Carr-led offense against the Los Angeles Rams in Week 1.
I think Week 1 is going to be a different story than season long. This Rams defense is
Unbelievable.
I cannot believe the names on that depth chart. I think the biggest spot that I think the Raiders can really do well this weekend
Capitalize off of.
is running the ball. I think out of any Raiders player, I think I'm going to start Marshawn Lynch.
Wow.
Because
Really? I'd be more comfortable starting a receiver against a Marquise Peters or Keep Talib than a Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh.
Of course, but the Raiders' offensive line is pretty good. So if they can, kind of move them out of the way and get to that second level where the linebackers are, that's our weak point. Obviously, we have a Mark Barron who's pretty solid, but he is a little undersized, and, that run-stopping ability is not as good as his coverage ability. And then we have a second middle linebacker who was an undrafted free agent that has very little experience in Corey Littleton. So that middle of the pack linebacking core is what makes me a little nervous in that Rams defense. I don't think the Raiders will be able to throw. I don't think they're going to have enough time to throw. I think the Rams corners are going to shut down Jordy Nelson, especially. Amari Cooper might have some big plays because he's Amari Cooper and he can get open and make big plays. But other than that, I think you can start the Rams defense. I think you can start every single player on that Rams offense. Jared Goff, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, Todd Gurley. Start them all. I think it's going to be not a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be Rams, scoring 40-plus points, and I think Raiders will score maybe a couple touchdowns.
All right.
So I don't really need to get too much into it. I think you start confidently your Rams, and you sit confidently your Raiders.
Wow. Okay. Well, that sucks for me. With my wide receiver 2 spot, you can see why I'm trying to make some trades in this
I just
league.
think that the Rams are so pumped on this season, and they're going to come out firing so hot that I just think they're going to be unstoppable against the Raiders team, who just lost their best player on their team in Khalil Mack. So I think that's what really opens up a lot for this Rams offense. And I think the Rams are going to score a lot of points, so it's going to make the Raiders have to throw the ball. And I think, Wade Phillips and his schemes and the way he plays against teams and schemes against teams, I think he's going to shut down Derek Carr and this Raiders offense.
I think if anybody has the opportunity to score in this offense this week, it is Jordy Nelson. I think Jordy Nelson's the man that's going to be able to get open in that red zone or break past Aqib Talib or Marcus Peters because they're both slow as could be. Not saying Jordy's any faster, but I do think Jordy's route running ability is the best in this offense, and that could lead to him getting some openings. And as long as Derek Carr can get a second to throw the ball, Jordy Nelson, in my opinion, is the guy that's going to score in this offense this week. But I don't think there's many touchdowns coming out of the Raiders this week because that Rams defense is just way too good.
It is. And, I don't know.
And Wade Phillips, too. He's a genius when it comes to calling defensive schemes and plays. So.
And then Sean McVay's an offensive guru.
It's hard to go against.
But he did learn from
John Gruden,
who
he's looking against the sideline.
It feels more fire to Sean McVay and this Rams team for them to win for McVay. So I think these guys are going to come out. I seriously think the Rams destroy the Raiders on Monday Night Football. I cannot wait for this game. I'm getting the chills right now just thinking about how great it is.
I can't wait for Sunday Night Football. This is going to be crazy. But either way, we got a huge weekend of games. We covered them all here. It took a little bit of time, but we got through it. And I think we gave you guys a lot of good insight on who to start, who not to start, what games I think are going to be very fantasy relevant and which ones aren't. But, Dill, I had always a blast. I can't wait to get this fantasy football season started.
I know,
finally.
Man. Super stoked. Let's get down to the best of the best. Our website.
Yep.
Our social media. If you haven't already, go on there and get all the updated information. Go to our website at www.theleaguefantasyfootball.wordpress.com, and on there, once again, you'll find all of our social media at The League Podcast for Facebook and Instagram, and then at The League Pod for Twitter. On Sunday morning, we'll be heavy on Twitter, answering questions, putting things out there, putting scenarios out there, trying to get feedback from you guys. So
definitely
go follow us on Twitter, guys, at The League Pod, and on Facebook, Instagram, at The League Podcast. Thanks again for tuning in today. Always amazing.
Always.
First full weekend of football. I am so excited. I can't wait to sit on my couch and just watch game after game.
Me too, and watch those fantasy points rack up. I hope you guys win your fantasy week 1 matchups due to our amazing insights. Simple as that. So get it done. Still, always a pleasure. Like I always say.
Over and out, brother.
Over and out, player.
What did I do? What did I do? The league, huh?